Okay, in this session, I'm going to talk about how to get a new AdSense account. And I'll talk about a few reasons why you would ever need to do this. But I need to remind you of something. Everyone here in the mastermind signed an NDA. One of the reasons you signed the NDA is to get trade secrets and learn ninja stuff that we use in this business and can't be shared anywhere else. So don't ever share this information outside of the mastermind. We're really serious about that. Let's talk about how to get a new AdSense account. I'm going to talk about the reasons why you would ever need a new AdSense account. I'm going to help you understand the process and protecting that new account. I'm going to walk you through step by step about the things that you'll need and tell you what you'll need to do to get that new account. So first, let's talk about why you would ever even need to get a new AdSense account. Well, some of you are, as you start to grow, you're going to need to balance your income as it comes in, spread it out through multiple AdSense accounts. Generally, we try to take AdSense accounts and not have more than about $40,000 per month, maybe even to $50,000 per month per AdSense account that's coming into you monthly. So as your business grows, you will probably want to have multiple AdSense accounts. Now, I'll tell you, we've done them a lot larger than this. You've seen maybe some of the screenshots before. We've had even up to $1 million, almost just shy of $1 million come through our AdSense account. But later we learned that it's a lot better to lower your risk, just because, you know, with AdSense, they're a publishing network. They love our websites, the kind of websites we do, but you never know when something could happen and they could accuse you of invalid clicks, and you could be completely innocent and they could just cancel your account and withhold your payments. You know, it doesn't really happen as much anymore as it used to 10 years ago, because there's a lot more people really trying to fraud AdSense, but occasionally it can happen. The great thing about AdSense now is they've changed so much in 10 years. They work with you. You know, very few people we've ever heard of getting their accounts canceled and not getting paid, legitimate people like us. It's the scammers and the people that are doing the crappy websites, the ones that get into trouble. That's why they love us and they work with us. But still, why not side on the side of caution and keep your AdSense accounts about, you know, 40 to 50,000 per month. So that's one reason why you'd ever need a new AdSense account. And the second reason is probably the most popular reason is some of you have joined our mastermind and maybe you've done AdSense before and you had your account banned. Okay, so there's lots of reasons why you could get your account banned on Google. And you can go search Google AdSense for the rules and conditions. And remember in the video I talk about Google AdSense that I want you to read all of the policies. I'm not kidding when I say that. You need to spend some time, go read all the policies and understand all the rules. Because even if you innocently make a mistake, they don't care. And so you need to really understand those rules and policies. The good thing is AdSense is really good about working with people, but this is probably mainly for people in the past who didn't understand the rules or they did some risky things and they got their accounts banned. So I just talked about why that happens, and I want you to understand something. You may not have a permanent ban. So accounts are disabled for many reasons, and you can go just search for, you know, AdSense accounts disabled. There's this article at their support site, and it says, why was my account disabled for invalid click activity? Well, they're looking at your traffic. If you're sending them garbage traffic and the end business users are not getting results from people clicking on your ads, that they don't like that, and they consider invalid activity not just people like trying to click on your ads, but like if your site is tricking people, or inadvertently you have your next buttons too close where people are clicking on your ad instead of the actual next button. Now, we've been really careful with ours and we've had good success with ours, but some people will try to trick people, and that's bad. So they have all kinds of things on here, and they say that you can't get a new account, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. Now, you can get your accounts back. See, not all bans are like a permanent ban. So some of you, there's been a few people who have contacted me and said they've had their account banned, but it wasn't a permanent ban. You need to go back through the emails that you got from Google and really look at it. They have an appeals process, and I believe it's right in here. They have an appeals process that you can go through. Like, my account was reinstated, you know, so they have an appeals process. So go through the appeals process and try to get your account back. Now, if you can't get your account back and if it's a permanent ban. And by the way, Google will use things like, you can never, ever, ever in the history of the world participate in Google AdSense again. That's just not true. They just have to do that because they're such a big company that they make these blanket statements. But it's actually just not true. You just have to do it the right way, and you can legally do it the right way. So let's talk about that. Here's the thing. I want you to understand how this process works at a high level, and then I'm going to go through kind of a little bit more detailed level. Your new account needs to be completely separate from your old account. What do I mean by that? That means it's got to be under a new person's name, which has to be a real person, or a new business identity, which is the easiest way to do it, in my opinion. Setting up a new business identity, because the businesses are a complete separate identity. They are like a new person, but it's a business. It must be a real person, like a family member if you're going to use a person, or a friend. But you'd have to make sure it's a really good friend or a really good family member if you're going to do it. And I'll talk about this in a moment to see if it's worthwhile to use a family member. But again, like if it's a business, it's got to be a business identity, like a new LLC or an S Corp. And some people will even set up like a S Corp and then a main business, and then they'll set up different LLCs that are owned by the S Corp, and then they'll just go through and set up new LLCs every time a new business is started. What I would recommend to you is talk to a tax accountant or accountant and just say, hey, listen, I'm setting up these Google AdSense accounts. They've got to be a separate entity. What's the best way for me in my state to do it, or my country to do it? Because it's different wherever you live. Now, don't forget, even though you live in one state, you can set up business entities in other states like Las Vegas and stuff. But I would highly recommend that you keep it in your current state that you're at, because Google is going to send you a postcard to verify that you're a real person. And if it's in Las Vegas, they're going to want to send it out to Las Vegas if you don't live in Nevada. So I would recommend that you keep it in the state that you're at. Now, the most important thing out of everything in understanding this process, nothing can link your new account to your old account. I'm going to go over specific details, and I'm going to say this multiple times. What that means is your Gmail or Google account, you can never, ever, ever, ever log in to the same computer with the new Gmail and Google account that you're setting up. You can never log into the same computer that's been accessed with a banned account. I'm going to talk about this again separately. I want you to understand that. You've got to be completely separate. Think in your mind, completely separate. I cannot mix the two. It's important because even if you mess up one time, it can put your new AdSense account in jeopardy. We get pretty anal about this, and so there's some people that might slide by and they, were able to make it work. But why not just side on on caution and just do it the way we teach you? So the other thing is you're going to need to have a different mailing address and a different tax ID, and they cannot be anything that was linked to your old one. All right? I'll talk about that more in detail. So just think, separate person, separate identity. Separate person, separate identity, can never mix the old one with the new one, and then you'll be good. So I do want to talk, see if you can see that, about an IP address and understand what that is. So an IP address is just a fancy term for an address on the internet. Every time you access the internet, there is an actual IP address. If you go to whatismyip.com, whatismyip.com, or just type in what is my IP address in Google, it'll tell you. It's going to look like a number like this, and yours is going to be different than that. That's just an example one. It's going to look like numbers like this. That's like your address. Like Google knows how to locate you. They know exactly where you're accessing your computer from. Like they can actually know the address of your house from your IP address. So I want you to understand something. You can never access your new accounts as you're setting these up or ever using them from an IP address where you're logged into your old Gmail accounts. So I want you to think about this. If you use Gmail or a Google account for your everyday email, and you're in there and you have an IP address of this 2163.128.12, and you go ahead and you open up your browser and you try to set up your AdSense account, it will get banned. They will not approve it, or they might approve it at the beginning, but eventually it will get banned because you're logging into the same computer with a at-risk, a banned Gmail account to a new one. If you're not clear on that, let's have a discussion about that in the forums, okay? So you got to think separate. So if you say, I'm just not going to use my Gmail account anymore. Well, I'll talk about that in a minute, but there is a way to do this, get a new IP address at your home where you're at, and then not ever log into those old Gmail accounts and then just use your same workspace. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I want you to understand what the IP address is, because that's what Google looks for. They're looking for the IP address that you're accessing it from, and they're looking for any Gmail or Google accounts that are linked. That means Google Analytics. Anything that requires you to log in with a Google account, they're tracking. They know if you're logging into that. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how to overcome that. It's not hard. I really want to warn people so they really understand the seriousness of it. And then I'm going to show you how easy it is to overcome it. All right, so here we go. Step by step. Step 1, set up your new person or business identity. It cannot be a fake person. It has to be a real person that has a tax ID number or a business identity. I'm going to recommend that you use a business identity because when you start making a lot of money with Google, especially if you're in the US, you're probably going to have to pay some taxes. And if you set it up right, then you talk to your tax guy and you can minimize the amount of taxes you have to pay. If you're doing a new person, whether you don't want to go the route of the business identity, it's got to be a real person, probably going to need to be a family member, and you're going to be accessing their account, their Gmail account. So they have to be okay with that. So if it's a spouse, that's okay. Other people probably not going to be happy with it. It needs to be at a different address. Oh, now I do want to go back one step. You don't necessarily have to do, like if you're using a family member, and you don't have to use their Gmail account. They can set up a new Gmail account with their name, and then you can set it up that way. So it's like you don't have to access their personal Gmail account. They can set up a new Gmail account. But it does have to be a different mailing address. You cannot, if it's like a family member that lives in your home, cannot be, if you've ever had an AdSense account banned, whatever mailing address that was on can never be used again. You're going to need to be able to log into their Google account. And we're going to call this a workspace throughout the rest of this training. Not necessarily their Gmail account, but a Google account that they set up. Because they're not going to want you logging into their personal Gmail account. If it's a new business identity, which I highly recommend that you do, then you need to do this. It needs to be a legal entity like an LLC or an S Corp. And I just mentioned that earlier, that you can set up like an S Corp, and then the S Corp can own additional LLCs. Talk to an accountant who in your area that sets up accounts, that sets up businesses for people, and just say, hey guys, I'm setting up this thing with Google AdSense. I got to have this as a separate entity. What's the best way for me to do it? Set up an LLC, set up an S Corp, and also thinking of tax reasons as well. And they can help you get set up. And yes, probably cost you some money. And some states have it where you can just set everything up online. As long as you know what you're doing, then you'll be good. Now, when you're outside of the US, it might be a little different for your country. Might be easier. I'm not sure. I'm only familiar with what we do here in the US. But I would assume every country has, same process. Again, needs to have a separate mailing address. So how do you get a separate mailing address? It's pretty easy. There in the US, we have these mailbox stores. The popular one is the UPS store. And you can just go and sign up and get a mailbox there. And they'll give you an address. And a lot of times you'll be, 123 South Main Street, Suite 100. Or they'll give you like number 100. There's other mailbox stores. Just get a different address like that. Or use a friend's address. Many times, or a family member's address. That's another way to do it. Because the only reason why you need another address is to put it on your application. And Google is going to mail a postcard to you that has a PIN number on it, so you verify it, and then once a year they're going to probably send you a tax form. So again, it could be like UPS store, or it could be another family member's house. Just make sure that that family member has never used Google AdSense and never had an account banned. Or just an existing Google AdSense account. That would be bad too. It needs to have, again, you need to have your own tax ID. So if it's a person, it's going to be in the US, it'll be your social security number, or in case of a business, it's going to be an actual business tax ID that you get from the government. And you need to access it from a separate workspace. I'm going to talk about exactly what I mean by workspace. Workspace means that separate environment that's not linked to anything else. So let's talk about that. Get your workspace set up. So you got your business set up, you got all those things set up, but before you just start to do anything where you're applying for accounts or anything, you've got to get your workspace set up. So how you do that is, again, it has to originate from a different IP address. So you have two options. If you're doing it from your home, make sure that your IP address is not the one you've ever used from your Gmail account, and you either cancel your Gmail account, never ever log into your Gmail account or anything Google related on your home account. If you either like wipe everything out and you never ever once are going to log into it, and you start from scratch, you're good. And that's kind of a pain in the neck for some people. A lot of people don't like to do that. So what I would recommend you do is this. And again, I just want to reiterate, you can never ever log into the same workspace with a Gmail or related account that's been banned. Gmail, Google Analytics, Google Voice, anything where you have to log in with a Google account, if you ever log into it on the same computer that you've had a banned AdSense account, your new AdSense account could be in jeopardy. All right, have I said that like 5 times now? All right, this is the best way to do it though. The best way is to set up what's called a Windows VPS server. And that basically is just a fancy word for a computer box that is set up somewhere where you can access a desktop environment. Let me show you an example here. Give me 1 second to bring my screen down and show you an example. What you're looking at here is a window that is running on my computer, which is accessing, I'm on a Windows machine, it's called Remote Desktop Connection. And it's connected to a computer at a different location. So I have a web browser, I have a whole Windows desktop. You can see I have a whole Windows desktop in here. And basically, here, let me drag it over here so you can see this. I have a whole Windows desktop in here with a start bar, everything that you need. And you can't see it because I've got the start bar underneath here, but it's like you're accessing someone else's computer. And it's got its own IP address that's separate, it's yours, and that's the one thing you want to do. When you get your VPS service, you want to make sure you get, it's called a static IP address. And again, the way you do that is through what's called Remote Desktop Connection. If you're on a Windows machine, let me show you. Remote Desktop Connection. If you're on a Windows machine, it's going to be like this. And you can go in and you can set up your different accounts in here, and then you hit connect and it's going to access that remote machine. So that account, how do you get those accounts? Well, they're pretty easy to get. They're all over the internet. They're called a Windows VPS server. Now let me see, I've got a couple sites here. I'm going to show you how to find them, but I'm not going to tell you which one to use because we don't want to all use the same ones. So if you just type in Windows VPS server. So if you type in Windows VPS server, it's going to give you all kinds of servers out there. 1&1, all these places. Cheap Windows VPS, VPS.net, they're a popular one. GoDaddy. The biggest thing you need to make sure is that they will give you a static IP address. So for example, here's an example of one. Cheap Windows hosting. I don't know if it's these guys or somebody else, but all you need is something that's like $10 a month. Has a gig of RAM, 40 gig hard drive. You're not going to be doing server stuff on this. All you're going to be doing is accessing a desktop window. And by the way, when you call these people, don't tell them that's what you're doing. They don't care. But if you say, hey, I'm going to be doing this to access the Google AdSense account, yeah, they probably don't care, but just don't do that. All right. So go on. If you need some help, hit us up in support, or let's go talk. And listen, we don't want to all use the same VPS. The biggest thing is we want to have different IP addresses, and they need to be located, not next to each other. That's why we're not telling everyone to use one particular company. There's hundreds and hundreds and even thousands of them around. So if you need help with that, let's get the communication going here in the forums. All you need to do, if you call some of these companies up and say, I just need to access a Windows desktop. And that's all you need to do. Okay, now for advanced users, there's something called proxy servers. I'm not even going to go and teach this. But if you're an advanced user, you can use a proxy server. Now, I'll be honest with you, I've never used a proxy server for this. I probably wouldn't do it unless you're really advanced and you know that your proxy address that you're getting is really good, clean. Because sometimes these proxy servers can be what they call dirty proxy servers, where they've been used by hackers and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not even going to talk about that, but those of you that are super advanced and know how to get like clean proxy server addresses, you can use that, but that's all I'm going to say about that. So, by the way, if anyone here needs help setting up their VPS, just let us know in support. We'll be happy to walk you through and help you get your VPS set up with our support team. So once you have your new VPS server or your new workspace, what's the process? Well, you just go in, you create a new Gmail address. And the important thing about that Gmail address is you do not forward it to your banned Gmail address. Okay, right? Remember, we're not trying to link anything to our old accounts. Don't put anything in that Gmail address that's going to link you to your old accounts. I do want to pause for a second because I want everyone to make sure that you understand that this is the legal way to do it. We're not doing anything illegal here. The thing is, Google is such a big company that they just they have to be so careful of fraud, and anything they detect they think is fraud, they have to side on caution, and so they'll just ban you. They don't care. They don't care. They actually don't care about you. Believe it or not. So this is why we do it this way. This is completely illegal because we're doing this from complete different identity, complete different legal person. It's all legal. We just have to be on the side of caution. Okay, so once you get your Gmail address, you have your physical mailing address already, all those pieces in place that I talked about, then you're ready to apply for your new AdSense account. You do it through your new workspace, and you apply for it. And when you access that account from the future, you will always access it from that remote server. It's actually kind of cool because you can do it from a phone, you can do it from a tablet. You just do it all, like you access it through this remote desktop client. It actually makes it really easy to do it. Again, if you need help, let us know in the support. We're happy to help you. But you need to stay consistent. Don't make a mistake and just accidentally log into your new Gmail account from your home web browser. Even doing that once can get your new account banned. We're just super, super, super on the side of caution. Never, ever, 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 ever log into your workspace with a Gmail account or anything that's linked. Okay, I've said it like 10 times now, right? Because it could get you banned. Just side on caution. You'll be fine. We've never had anybody with problems because I've warned them a million times. Well, that's it. That's how you get a new AdSense account. And that's how you do it if you want to balance yourself out or if you need to get a new AdSense account. Now, anyone that needs help with this, let's get the discussion going in the forums. Start a support group. We don't want anyone to get discouraged thinking you can't get a new AdSense account, because you can. You can get a new AdSense account. All right? Okay, guys, let's go at it. If you need help, let us know in the support.